In the vast expanse of the desert planet Arrakis, a young man stands before a crowd of fierce warriors, his voice echoing across the dunes. "Long live the fighters," he cries in a strange, guttural language. This scene from Denis Villeneuve's Dune Part 2 is a window into a rich tapestry of real-world cultures that have shaped one of science fiction's most iconic universes. But how much of Dune's alien world is truly alien, and how much is drawn from our own history and traditions? Let's dive deep into the sands of Arrakis to uncover the real inspiration behind the cultures in Dune.
Nothing fancy.
When Frank Herbert published Dune in 1965, he created a universe that has captivated readers and viewers for generations. At the heart of this epic tale are the Fremen, the desert-dwelling people of Arrakis who become central to Paul Atreides' rise to power. But the Fremen aren't just products of Herbert's imagination. They're a complex blend of real-world cultures, religions, and historical movements. To understand Fremen, we need to first look at the world Frank Herbert was living in when he conceived Dune. The 1960s were a time of great change and upheaval, particularly in the Middle East and North Africa. Colonialism was crumbling, new nations were emerging, and age-old conflicts were taking on new dimensions. Herbert was deeply fascinated by this changing world. He spent years researching Islamic culture, Bedouin traditions, and the complex interplay between religion, politics, and the environment. This research formed the backbone of the Fremen culture we see in Dune. The harsh, unforgiving landscape of Arrakis draws clear parallels to the Arabian Desert and the Sahara. Just as these real-world deserts have shaped the cultures that inhabit them, Arrakis molds the Fremen into tough, resourceful people. The Fremen's relationship with water is perhaps the most direct reflection of Bedouin culture. In Dune, water is precious beyond measure. To waste it is a grave offense. Bedouin tribes have developed intricate customs around water usage and sharing, much like the Fremen's complex water rituals. But Herbert borrowed not just the practical aspects of desert life. Fremen's spiritual beliefs and practices are heavily drawn from Islamic mysticism, particularly Sufism. The concept of the Lisan al-Ghaib, or voice from the outer world, has roots in Islamic prophecy. In the Dune universe, this figure is believed to be a messiah who will lead the Fremen to paradise, a clear parallel to the Islamic concept of the Mahdi, a prophesied redeemer of Islam. The Fremen's use of the term jihad is another direct borrowing from Islamic culture. In Dune, jihad refers to the holy war that Paul Atreides eventually leads across the universe. While this term has become controversial in recent years, Herbert used it more nuancedly, exploring its spiritual and militant aspects. However, this term was taken out of the actual movie due to its negative perception in today's understanding. Fremen's social structure also resembles that of traditional Bedouin societies. They are organized into tribes or sketches, each led by a naib. This mirrors the clan-based structure of many Middle Eastern desert cultures. One of the most fascinating aspects of Fremen culture is their language. In Herbert's original novel, the Fremen speak a dialect heavily influenced by Arabic. Words like Shah-Halud, the Fremen name for the giant sandworms, and Usul, Paul's Fremen name meaning the base of the pillar or foundation, are clearly derived from Arabic roots. Interestingly, this direct Arabic influence has been downplayed in Denis Villeneuve's film adaptations. The filmmakers worked with linguist David J. Peterson to create a new language for the Fremen. While it still has some Arabic-inspired sounds, it's an entirely constructed language designed to sound alien yet believable for a culture 20,000 years into our future. While this change has been controversial among some fans and scholars, critics argue that it erases an important connection to the real-world cultures that inspired Dune. Supporters, however, say that it adds to the sense of a truly alien future. Regardless of where you stand on this debate, it's a fascinating example of how adaptations can change our perception of a fictional culture, a brilliantly imagined depiction of what future descendants of 1960s and 70s Arab and Middle Eastern Bedouin could have evolved into culturally and religiously tens of thousands of years from now. The Fremen's attire in both Herbert's novels and Villeneuve's films bears striking similarities to traditional Bedouin clothing. Like their real-world counterparts, the Fremen wear lightweight, loose-fitting garments that protect against the harsh desert environment. Their flowing robes and head coverings serve both practical and cultural purposes, shielding them from the relentless sun while also expressing their cultural identity. One particularly intriguing visual element in Dune Part 2 is the facial tattoos worn by Lady Jessica after her transformation. These markings, which contain the text of Bene Gesserit's litany against fear, draw parallels to the facial tattoos worn by some North African and Arab tribal women. In the film, these tattoos serve multiple purposes. They symbolize Jessica's new status, connect to the Lisan al-Gaib prophecy, and represent her manipulation of Fremen's beliefs. As director Denis Villeneuve explained, she's trying to play on the symbolism that was put in the prophecy. There's some kind of madness in writing elements of the prophecies on her face. The Fremen's belief system also incorporates elements directly borrowed from Islamic and pre-Islamic Arabian mythology. One notable example is the mention of jinn in the story. When Stilgar first encounters Paul Atreides, he asks, "What have we here, jinn or human?" This reference to supernatural beings from Arabian folklore adds another layer of cultural depth to the Fremen. In Islamic tradition, jinns are neither wholly good nor evil, often portrayed as trickster figures existing in a realm parallel to humans. Moving beyond this, let's look at the Fremen's religious practices. The concept of the Sayyidina, wise women who serve as religious leaders, has parallels in various Islamic traditions. The ritual combat we see in both the book and films, where Paul must fight and kill a Fremen warrior to be accepted into the tribe, echoes traditions of proving oneself through combat found in many warrior cultures. Perhaps the most iconic aspect of Fremen culture is their relationship with the sandworms of Arrakis. These massive creatures are both feared and revered, seen as manifestations of the deity Shai-Hulud. The Fremen's ability to ride the sandworms is a key part of their identity and their power over Arrakis. While there's no direct real-world parallel to sandworm riding, the idea of a people having a special relationship with a dangerous animal is not unique to Dune. We can see echoes of this in various cultures around the world, from the Maasai's relationship with lions to the importance of the horse in Bedouin culture. The Fremen's ecological knowledge, particularly their dream of terraforming Arrakis into a green planet, also has roots in real-world desert cultures. Many Middle Eastern and North African societies have long traditions of carefully managing scarce water resources and understanding the delicate balance of desert ecosystems. Fremen's culture is their messianic belief system, which plays a crucial role in the plot of Dune. The Fremen's anticipation of a savior figure who will lead them to freedom and transform their planet has clear parallels in many real-world religions, particularly in Islamic and Judeo-Christian traditions. The concept of the Mahdi in Islamic eschatology is perhaps the closest real-world parallel to the Fremen's prophecies. In Islamic tradition, the Mahdi is expected to appear before the Day of Judgment to rid the world of evil and injustice. This resembles the Fremen's expectations of Paul Atreides, whom they come to see as their prophesied leader, the Lisan al-Gaib. Herbert was deeply interested in the power of prophecy and messianic movements in shaping history. He drew inspiration from various historical figures who were seen as saviors or prophets by their followers. One such figure was Muhammad Ahmad, who proclaimed himself the Mahdi in Sudan in the late 19th century and led a successful revolt against Anglo-Egyptian rule. Another historical parallel can be found in T.E. Lawrence, better known as Lawrence of Arabia. Lawrence's role in the Arab revolt against the Ottoman Empire during World War I is similar to Paul's relationship with the Fremen. Both outsiders become leaders of desert people in their struggle against a powerful empire. The Fremen's fierce fighting style and guerrilla tactics also have real-world inspirations. Herbert was fascinated by the effectiveness of desert warriors against technologically superior forces. He studied historical examples such as the Bedouin raids against the Ottomans and the Arab revolt against the British. One exciting source of inspiration was the Caucasian War of the 19th century, where Muslim tribes in the Caucasus Mountains resisted Russian expansion for decades. The leader of this resistance, Imam Shamil, shares some characteristics with both Paul Atreides and the Fremen leaders in Dune. The Fremen's use of sound weapons, the weirding way in the original novel, changed to voice in David Lynch's 1984 film adaptation, doesn't have a direct real-world parallel. However, it could be seen as an extension of the importance of oral traditions in many desert cultures, where knowledge and power are often transmitted through speech and song. Herbert was also deeply interested in the intersection of ecology and culture. The Fremen's intimate knowledge of their harsh environment and their long-term plan to transform. Arrakis reflects real-world debates around environmental stewardship and the role of indigenous knowledge in conservation. In both the books and films, the Fremen use a device called a thumper to summon sandworms. While there's no direct real-world equivalent, this practice echoes various traditional hunting and animal husbandry techniques. For instance, some African tribes use rhythmic sounds to guide cattle or to call animals during hunts. The Fremen's use of hookah-like devices to consume spice-infused smoke is another element with clear real-world inspirations. Water pipes have been used in Middle Eastern and North African cultures for centuries, often in social settings. Herbert takes this familiar object and gives it a science fiction twist, tying it to the all-important spice and the Fremen's religious practices. One aspect of Fremen culture that is particularly relevant to modern audiences is its sustainable lifestyle. Despite living on a harsh desert planet, the Fremen have developed a way of life that's in harmony with their environment. This reflects growing real-world concerns about sustainability and the need to adapt to changing climates. In Denis Villeneuve's film adaptations, the visual representation of Fremen culture draws heavily from Middle Eastern and North African aesthetics. The flowing robes, the intricate patterns in their clothing and structures, and the use of earth tones all evoke images of traditional desert cultures. However, these familiar elements are combined with futuristic designs to create a unique aesthetic that feels both ancient and alien. So, how do you feel about the changes made to Fremen culture in the recent film adaptations? Do they enhance or detract from Herbert's original vision? Share your thoughts in the comments section, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel.